Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining our symposium today. We will get started in a couple minutes. It's a couple minutes before the hour here, so bear with us. We're so excited that you're here and that we're having this symposium. Yes, Mamadou. Sorry, Mamadou. Could you put that in the chat, please? I'm not hearing you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hi, Jan. How are you?
Nice to see you. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry, I have to say good morning, of course.
Good morning in the US. That's right. Yeah. Brazil also, good morning.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our symposium, our research symposium. This is really exciting. We have about 20 young and exciting researchers here with us today, and so it's time to get started for our consortium research symposium. And again, I just want to welcome you all to this Consortium for Innovation in Post-Harvest Loss and Food Waste Reduction event. As always, our events are recorded and live streamed, so you can view them later. So we just wanted to be upfront with you on that. Again, this is the Food System Research Symposium. We have some excellent presentations and poster talks for you over about the next 3 hours. And so I just wanted to step you through just a little bit about the schedule before I turn it over to Dr. Meyer for some remarks about the consortium. We'll have about an hour of initial presentations. We'll do a couple presentations and then a question and answer session. And then we'll have a poster session, and then we'll have a second presentation section. So thank you very much for joining us. Just a little bit about the consortium. We're 9 member institutions, 2 major funders, the Foundation for Food and Agriculture Research and the Rockefeller Foundation. We also garner funding from each of our members. So we thank our funders and our members very much. Without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Dirk Meyer for some opening remarks.
Thank you, Kyle. And I want to just welcome you also to this symposium. A primary purpose and goal of the consortium has been to get graduate student research supported, initiated, funded in joint collaboration with the partner institutions. And we're very excited that after about 1.5 years or so that the consortium has been up and running, and despite the COVID pandemic that has affected all of us in our countries, we've continued to make really great progress on all of our projects, and that's thanks to the collaborating researchers, faculty, scientists, and their students and their staff at the various collaborating institutions. We've also had many of the students that are presenting today in a graduate level course that we taught via a virtual platform here from Iowa State University, but that was put together by many experts in the topic of post-harvest loss management and preservation. And it was led by colleagues from the Volcani Center in Israel. And we have about 25 or so students that completed that course that will receive their certificates of completion here shortly. And so again, this is a great reflection of the type of projects and the type of efforts and initiative that have been going on as part of the consortium. I also want to thank not only Kyle and Nick for organizing the webinar, which is part of a series of webinars that we do on a regular basis. Many of you are aware of that. You receive our newsletter, you need to see our advertisement. But also thank you to colleagues from, for example, Wageningen University. I see Dr. Braze and Snells there, and they're, together with others, are serving as reviewers of the presentations and the posters and evaluators. And we are going to score the posters and the presentations, and there will be cash prizes that will be awarded. We won't award them right away today, but they'll be informed about that early next week when we gather all the feedback, and then we'll figure out how to get funds to the individuals that have scored and at the top. And so we want to have fun with this. Also realize, of course, that there's always some technical challenges. So we've encouraged and really required a number of the presentations to be pre-recorded. That way we stay within the time limit, both for the talks as well as the poster presentations. But we are coming together in live sessions, and that's why I appreciate everybody being on the call in terms of the panelists, where we will facilitate questions to the posters. So we want to encourage all participants, including panelists or presenters. You know, you're to participate and ask each other questions as well. That's part of the dialogue that we want to start. We got Q&A availability, we've got chat availability, and so we want to encourage you to be active in that regard. And if there's a question directed to any of your research, you feel free in the Q&A or in the chat to keep track of that and respond to that, right? So this is interactive in that regard. So you don't have to wait until there's a particular break with regard to the Q&A sessions as well. And as Kyle indicated, we will have all of the recordings posted on our website, but also the posters will be there, the presentations will be there. And I guess a final note is thank you to all of the collaborating faculty and scientists for encouraging their students to put these presentations together and to participate. We greatly appreciate that. We know that takes extra time and effort to preview and approve and so forth. And so we're very appreciative of all of that. Kyle, is there anything else that I need to address, or do we have it all covered?
No, I think you have it all covered, but I just want to say before we get started, we have all the panelists on the webinar in the symposium. I just want to give them a round of applause to all the students, because they did so much work and research over the last year, and so we're looking forward to their presentations now. But I just want to acknowledge them. 20 students, so just wanted to acknowledge them.
Kyle, that reminds me of one other thing is there's also the third All Africa Post-Harvest Congress and Expo that will take place. It will be a virtual event later this year in September. The abstract deadline has been extended through June 8th. And any of you that are giving presentations, or any others that might not have been able to joined for today are encouraged and welcome to submit abstracts, to the various sessions. And that's kind of the next step in terms of the progression of research from, getting your research done towards getting your thesis and dissertation done, towards presenting at scientific meetings, towards writing manuscripts that are going to result in and be published in peer journal publications. So we want to just emphasize that progression with all of you. So, Kyle?
Thank you very much, Dr. Meyer. So we will, the schedule of events is we will have a couple presentations and then we'll go into a question and answer session. So that first presentation will begin right now.
Good morning, everyone. I am here to present to you my research entitled Understanding the Properties of Hermetic Storage Bag to Characterize its Performance. I am Maria Cristina Ignacio, PhD candidate in Agriculture and Biosystems Engineering at Iowa State University, and my major professor is Dr. Dirk Meyer. Hermetic storage bag works under the principle of biogenerated modified atmosphere, and wherein the oxygen concentration dramatically decreases and the carbon dioxide level proportionally increase in the stored product, thus creating a low oxygen environment due to the aerobic respiration of grain, insect, and molds. It is most widely disseminated among smallholder farmers in Central America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Asia. Is known to be effective in controlling insect pests without using any pesticide. Thus, it is a chemical-free option for storage. And it's also known to be easy to use. It has only two components, the polypropylene bag and the plastic liner bag. The polypropylene bag is the outer bag that provide strength and protection during handling and storage, while the plastic liner bag limits the permeability of gases to ensure low oxygen environment, thus the most critical component of the hermetic storage bag and the focus of my research. There are different commercially available hermetic storage bags, can be categorized into three. The single layer, meaning they're only can be purchased using by inner liner only. So examples are super grain bag and storzo, while the double layer are composed of polypropylene bag plus inner liner. Those are agrosea bag and Cerafly bag. The triple layer bags are composed of polypropylene bag plus two inner liners. These are Pix bag and Elite bag. For my research, I'll be using only two categories. So I lump the single layer and double layer into one since my focus is the liner itself. So single liner meaning the multi-layer films with low permeability barrier liners, which is used for this first two category, while the second one double liner meaning these bags have two high density polyethylene liners. Now, with the impacts of hermetic storage bag technology, it has been established for more than 10 years, both social and economic aspects. So, for social, um, more income for farmers because using hermetic storage bag, they have the flexibility to store their grain for several months while waiting for the price of the grain to increase. And also, hermetic storage bag is known to address food safety because it is a chemical-free option, and also studies proven the efficacy of this technology for mitigating mycotoxin contamination. For economic, it is known to be effective in reducing post-harvest losses due to insect pests and maintaining moisture content good quality grains, thus ensuring food security. Now, though the demand of hermetic storage bag continues to grow, more research is needed to address the challenges and emerging gaps of this technology. Some of the challenges are availability, so the affordability because it is more expensive than the traditional bag, usability and durability because they're prone to damage, need for drying technology and moisture assessment to ensure the grain quality. For the gaps with the increasing adoption, various hermetic bags are becoming available in the market, and manufacturers, distributors are claiming different performance of this brand, but we don't have the basis or the standard for that. Now, due to the increasing plastic production globally, with the adverse effect in the environment, so there's a need for environmental impact assessment of this technology and understand the factor for achieving what influence in for achieving the and maintaining the low oxygen environment during hermetic storage. So these gaps are considered for my objectives. So the objectives here, quantifying engineering properties for the standard, estimate the environmental impact, and predict the oxygen depletion. The first study, I used 6 commercially available bag liners and tested them following the ASTM standard methods. And these are impact failure test, tensile test, tear strength, permeation test, both for oxygen transmission and water vapor transmission. The results showed that there are substantial differences and statistically significant differences between these bag liners. The properties considered are tensile properties, dart, impact failure weight, tear force, and oxygen transmission and water vapor transmission rate. Also, the study results will used to develop an international standard. Actually, the project proposal has been approved last year in August 2020, and the title of the project is Measurement and Rating of Hermetic Storage Bags. And understanding these properties will provide us information on how many times a hermetic liner can be used without losing hermeticity and structural integrity. For the second study, estimation of environmental impact using life cycle analysis, sustainable mines software, carbon footprint is calculated, and other performance indicators for environmental impacts. Single versus double liner, we use the comparison for that one in the 50 and 100 kilogram, storage period of 6 months, and service life of 24 months. So the scope of the project is from bag manufacturing to disposal, and the functional unit is one hermetic storage bag. The result here, the bag manufacturing has the highest carbon footprint amounting to 73% to 83%. And comparing the 4 types of bag liners, single liner has the lowest impact points, the 50 kilogram capacity, while double liner 100 kilogram has the highest impact points. Single liner 50 kilogram has the least footprint among all hermetic storage bag compared. Now for the other indicators here, given the bag manufacturing has the highest carbon footprint, it is expected that the fossil fuel depletion has also the greatest environmental impact. Now, the results of this study will provide helpful information for government to make decisions based on evidence uh, in banning plastic bans specifically to hermetic storage. And also this will provide baseline information in providing for sustainable use of this technology by developing ways in the production or bag production. Now, for predicting oxygen depletion during grain storage, here the oxygen consumption and depletion is calculated using the grain respiration, considering our ASABE dry matter loss equation, insect oxygen demand. We have here mass of weevils and growth rate, and also the measured OTR or oxygen transmission rate values from study 1 for liners. Now, the summary dashboard looks like this. Insect per kilogram, grain and temperature with a changing moisture content will give you different oxygen depletion inside the bag, and also number of days to reach oxygen level below 5% to kill the adult insects. Increasing the moisture content will give you lesser day, and also if you have constant moisture content but increasing the temperature will give you slight differences. Now the summary dashboard we have here, uh, confirm that insect respiration dominates oxygen depletion at moisture content 13 to 14. So if you have an oxygen depletion of to have 5% with 2 insect per kilogram, it will take 51 days. Now moving forward, study 1, study 2 will continue the draft ASAB standard techno-economic for the ranking, and then study 3 for the predictive model, study 4 storage experiment for validation of study 1, 2, and 3. Thank you very much, and you may contact us with this information.
All right, thank you, Christine. So the format of the symposium is that we'll have another presentation, and then we'll have a question and answer session. So we'll go directly to that next presentation. And that next presentation is from Henry Ampadu.
My name is Henry Ampedu Boatin, and I'm presenting on a research topic, performance evaluation of a flatbed maize dryer with a biomass heat source. This is a collaborated work done by myself, Henry Ampedu Boatin, Mr. George Obin Akrofi, and Mr. Joseph Akowa. Introduction. Maize. In Ghana, maize is predominantly produced by smallholder farmers who mainly rely on the open sun to dry their grains. And in securing their produce, these smallholder farmers combat a lot of challenges. These are some of the examples of challenges they undergo. The picture at the up left shows a woman spreading maize on a tarpaulin, and this depicts labor intensity and time consuming. Beneath it are some women stirring maize with their legs, and this depicts contamination. At the upmost right corner is maize being dried and soaked by rain, and this also depicts prolonged drying and gives room for fungus and mold growth. To curb these challenges, new modernized dryers have been introduced, but they are few and installed on gas or powered by diesel, which are very expensive to operate and not economically feasible for a smallholder farmer to patronize. So therefore, a newly fabricated maize dryer that utilizes biomass as heat source is being introduced and investigated. Objectives. The main objective is to evaluate the performance of a newly fabricated flatbed maize dryer with biomass heat source. Specifically, 1. To determine the operational performance of the flatbed maize dryer for drying maize, and 2. To determine the effect of drying temperature on stress crack and viability of maize grains dried using the flatbed dryer. Materials and methods. Study area. The drying experiment was conducted at Konsankom, a suburb of Techiman of the Bono East region, Ghana. Figure 1 shows an installed dryer with burner furnace, and this is a screw auger to convey the grains. Figure 2 shows a schematic view of direction of hot airflow. This is the burning chamber, and this is the heat exchanger. By conduction, as the heat exchanger gets heated, the blower sends the hot air, which are the red arrows, into the plenum, and it diffuses through the perforated mesh, which is the dotted line, into the drying chamber, and the red arrows as the heated air turn blue as it comes into combination with the ambient air temperature. Also, data loggers are hanged at the plenum to record the plenum temperature. And figure 3 shows the data logging points. Data collected is analyzed with a statistic package for social sciences and Microsoft Excel 2019, and the results are displayed in descriptive charts. These are some of the mathematicals used to determine the operational performance. Result and discussion. Figure 4 shows the plenum and ambient temperature variation versus time. You can see that at 10 o'clock to 10:10, both the ambient and the plenum temperature were having close temperature ranges at the 20s degrees Celsius, but at 10:20, the temperature leapfrogged from, as heat was introduced, it leapfrogged from the 20s to 60s. The plenum temperature recorded a maximum temperature of 73.4 degrees Celsius, and a maximum for the ambient was 27.9 degrees Celsius. An average temperature was recorded at the plenum to be 55.8 plus or minus 1.5 degrees Celsius, which was about twice the ambient temperature, which was 26.1 plus or minus 0.9 degrees Celsius. Figure 5 shows grain moisture versus drying time. At average drying temperature of 55.8 plus or minus 1.5 degrees Celsius and burner efficiency of 55.4%, 500 kilograms of maize grains were dried from an average initial moisture content of 18.4 plus or minus 0.1% wet basis to a final average moisture content of 13.4 plus or minus 0.4% wet basis in 5 hours. And also a drying rate of 1.02% per hour was achieved, resulting in a drying efficiency of 67.35% and a moisture extraction rate of 6.23 kg per hour. Lastly, to determine whether the temperature had negative effects on the grains being dried, a stress crack analysis was conducted, and figure 6 shows the percentage crack in grain samples. You will see that 73% of the seeds of the samples dried were uncracked. The single and double had 10% cracks, and the multiple had 7%. And this together gives us a stress crack index of 75%, which is low. Also, a variability test was conducted, and it was through germination test. We could see that 90% of the seeds germinated, which indicates that it was a very good conclusion. I conclude that the 3-ton capacity of the flatbed dryer is suitable for a smallholder farmer. Its positive outlook in terms of its operational performance shows it can contribute to the drying needs of a smallholder maize farmer and help reduce post-harvest losses in maize at the smallholder level. Additionally, with no adverse effect on seed germination detected, the flatbed dryer can be suitable for drying grains for food, feed, and seed. Thank you. We want to express our sincere appreciation to the consortium for providing support for this research.
Okay, so thank you very much. for the presentation. So now we're going to go into a question and answer session with the first two presenters. So Henry and Christine. Um, um, we will start with a question and answer session, and so first off, for the people in the meeting, you can use the Q&A function, or you can use the chat. It may be easier for us to see the Q&A function because the chat is always kind of going down. So let's start off with the Q&A function if Christine and Henry are ready. And then the first question I received was, and I just want to say, short and sweet answers, short and sweet questions would be really great because we have about 10 minutes for this. What is the length of life that was assumed for the bags, the hermetic storage bags, in assessing environmental impacts? 1, 2, 3, 5 seasons, maybe, Christine? So that's our first question.
I considered 4 seasons with 6 months of use per season, and that will be a 24-month life of the hermetic liners.
Okay, great. And a nice short and sweet. What do you know about the effect of hermetic storage on mycotoxins?
Okay, so the plastic liners of the hermetic bag are designed to limit or sensibly reduce the permeability of gases, including water vapor. So for studies reported that relative humidity in the hermetic bags with maize at a moisture content of 14% will or less drop below 70%, which creates an inhibitory condition for the growth of productivity of molds, eventually mitigate the mycotoxin production.
Great, thank you, Christina. I have a question for Henry now. What is the level of stress cracks in grain that is dried in the sun and not with the dryer? And that comes from Dr. Sanka.
Thank you. Come again, I didn't really get a question.
So Dr. Sanka is talking about, if you could talk a little bit about the stress cracks in maize from just sun drying, instead of, do you have any idea about that?
I actually understand what you want to say. You want me to elaborate more or talk more as if I did a comparative analysis between the sun and the dryer I used. But I didn't do a comparison. I just worked on the dryer.
Okay, thanks. And then Henry, Dr. Sanka also asked, and then I'll get to the Q&As. Can an individual farmer justify having a dryer themselves, or does it need to be provided? Does it need to be a group, for example?
If the individual is working with an average yield of 1.9 metric ton per hour, I don't think the individual needs the dryer, since the dryer can take more than that capacity. But if the individual have a farm with an acreage of 10 hectares upwards, the individual can patronize the dryer. But because it can take a lot of workload, I would suggest that it should be a group, unless the individual is a commercial farmer and has a really vast land for production.
Okay, great. We have a question from Stanley. Stanley asks about the flat bed dryer. Is it automated to get the temperature readings? Is it automated?
was a biomass that was used as heat source. So you can't really alter it. It's just a constant heat source that you get.
Okay. Great. And then we have a technical question here. What do the error bars in your graphs mean for Henry?
It shows the margin of percentage errors that could have occurred. And you could see the bars were very small. So that means there was least errors in it.
Right. Right. We have many questions coming in, so I really appreciate everyone asking. And I have a question from Paula who asks, can you state that the final grain humidity is 13.4% of every part of the drying chamber? Couldn't there, and then Paula goes on to say, couldn't there be some variations?
There is some variation. That's why I added the plus or minus 2 to it. It was 13.4 plus or minus 4. So not every area. It was a standard deviation figure that I had.
We have a question from Marie who says, what can you say about the biomass source for drying? How is it accumulated for the intense use in drying? And does it need to be kept dry itself to burn efficiently?
Okay, the study was to make sure you don't use a lot of money in getting fuel, like such as buying gas, or so we use the biomass fuel. And the biomass I used was a corn cob. You dry it and you just burn it in the burning chamber. Oh, I didn't get a question right.
I think you got that right. Thank you for that. I think that there are quite a number here. So Henry, if you could look at those question and answers on your screen, I believe you can see those. And then if you could answer, if you could try throughout the presentation to answer them and also put the answers in the chat. That would be great. And it's same for you, Christine. I was looking just at the Q&A, but if there are other questions in the chat, please, presenters, look for those things and respond to them. And thank you for those great questions. Unfortunately, this is a really quick symposium. We're going to move on. And so our next presentation is actually from Tentenda. Tentenda, are you here? And you're doing it live, so go ahead, Tentenda.
All right, thank you very much. Let me just quickly set it up. Yeah. Right. Great. I hope you guys can see my slides.
We can see them, yes.
Thank you. So I'm going to be talking about the work that okay, cool. I'm going to be talking about some of the work that we're doing on edible coatings as an alternative post-harvest technology for pomegranate fruit. So I'm from Stellenbosch University in South Africa. So this is how the pomegranate fruit looks like. The edible portion are those areas there, which can be further processed into the juice. The inedible part is the peel that is often discarded for animal use. So this is quite a ancient fruit, but in recent times it has become quite popular, mainly because of the health benefits that have been highlighted in different scientific studies when it comes to the consumption of the juice or any other pomegranate derived products. So the pomegranate juice itself and parts of the fruit like the peel have been seen to exhibit antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, cardioprotective properties, and many others. And therefore, the global demand of the fruit has been increasing quite a lot in the past few years. And if you look at South Africa, even though the commercialization of the fruit started around the year 2000, and we only have about 1,000 hectares of the fruit, you can actually see that the volumes of our exports are increasing each and every year. And we export to different destinations like the European Union, the Middle East, and we've got different cultivars that we have: wonderful, Hashkovich, Arco, and many others. So where my project comes in is addressing the different challenges that we have on the supply chain of the fruit, because what we've observed is that the quality deteriorates during cold storage, which often leads to huge economic losses. So that can be because of decay, that can be because of excessive moisture loss. So, of course, a lot of science has been done regarding the use of fungicides, modified atmospheric packaging, controlled atmosphere. But what we've observed is post-harvest losses are still very, very high. And therefore, alternative post-harvest technologies are still like a research priority. More and more solutions are required. And so that's where we introduce the concept of edible coatings as an alternative. It has been used for apples, strawberries, to control water loss and improve cosmetic features, and some have even regarded it as a modified atmospheric packaging. But if you look at the work that has actually been done on the pomegranate, that is where we get in. And also part of what we are doing is rethinking plastic packaging. We all know the challenges that we have when it comes to, pollution. And on your right there, you can actually see how the fruit is currently being packaged using plastic liners. So we are looking into possibly replacing those plastic liners with the use of edible coatings. So that is also another section of what we are doing. So what are edible coatings? You'll find out that they're derived from many sources, but most of the time they're in powder form that is usually formulated to form a liquid. So that liquid is applied on the fruit either by spraying or dipping your fruit. And once the liquid sets on the fruit, it forms a semi-permeable membrane around the fruit that limits moisture movement or gas movement. So when you look at the pomegranate fruit, that could actually be quite beneficial because the fruit is marketed on weight basis. So if you can minimize the moisture loss, it can actually be helpful. But at the same time, you do not want to suffocate the fruit so that you end up having fermentation and the eating quality will be terrible. So that's also where the science comes in. So you find quite a number of edible coatings, but we are looking at mainly using the composites that combine the properties of hydrocolloids as well as lipids. And also the innovative part of it is going from just conventional barriers to more of carriers of bioactive compounds. So you can actually put in different particles that have got antifungal properties, antibacterial properties in the polymer matrix, so that your coating not only limits moisture loss, but also can minimize decay incidence in the fruit. So this is just a brief, I tried to summarize it in such a way that we understand, but coatings are usually in powder, then you formulate them into a liquid. In this case, we were dipping our fruit and allowing it to dry. Then we can package it into the boxes there on D. So briefly, some of the results that we got, we actually observed that we used a coating called chitosan. We also used gamma arabic, And we used lemongrass oil as an antifungal agent as well as pomegranate peel. So where there's CH there, it represents chitosan. CH plus LM is chitosan plus lemongrass oil, then chitosan plus pomegranate peel. So what we observed is that obviously coatings reduced weight loss, but quite interestingly, when it comes even to the appearance of the fruit, you can actually see here where it's written control fruit that was not coated. It appeared to have a lot of discolorations on the skin, but the fruit that was coated with chitosan, lemongrass, and pomegranate pure extract, you can actually see that it looks very nice. So on top of just reducing moisture loss after the 6-week period storage at 5 degrees Celsius, the fruit actually looked great. It retained its red color. And so what are the practical implications of this? Because like I mentioned earlier, that the fruit is marketed on weight basis, edible coatings actually proved to be quite a promising technology in terms of minimizing that weight loss, as well as actually be beneficial to packhouse owners and all those that exporting the food. They can actually translate into quite substantial economic gains. And also we observed that we measured other things like antioxidants, the sugar content, and we could see that application of these coatings actually boosted the content of those fruits. So it is a very promising natural post-harvest treatment that can reduce decay as well as maintain the overall quality of the fruit. All right, so I just want to acknowledge the following organizations and individuals for sponsoring the work. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Tentenda. And if you could stop sharing your screen, that would be wonderful. Then the next up is Emmanuel Imwoka. Emmanuel, are you ready?
Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Emmanuel. Are you ready to give your presentation?
Yeah, let me screen share my screen.
Okay, great.
Are you able to see it?
Not yet, no.
Let me try again. Okay, Kyle, you can take the next present and then I'll share. After the, I got pad.
Okay, so you want us to move on, and then we'll come back to you.
Yeah, sure.
So I have a quick question. Mamadou, are you on? Okay. We will go to the next presentation here on our list from Mamadou, are you available to give your presentation live? Could you do that?
I think Kyle, I can go ahead.
Okay, we'll go with Emmanuel and then we'll go to Mamadou, okay?
I'm trying to put on. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Emmanuel from the University of Nairobi, and I'll be making a presentation today in regard to my study on comparative evaluation of the effectiveness of some selected storage technologies that we can use to preserve the quality of mango fruits. So going back to the introduction is that Kenya is a larger producer of mango, and a good percentage of the fruits produced in Kenya is of course mango being ranked second after avocado and banana in both the export and domestic market. But these are mango production has been done mainly by the smallholder farmers who depended on it for their livelihood. However, the full potential hasn't been exploited by these farmers owing to a number of factors, majorly because of high post-harvest losses. And the post-harvest losses, of course, as we know from literature, we've been quoted as high as 50%, but some places that are even more, to including 100% during the on season or when the season is in full. Of course, there are a number of technologies that farmers can explore to try and extend the shelf life of their mango, but this hasn't been realized because of a number of reasons, one of it being lack of awareness and technical know-how of these technologies. Some can't access, some of course, as I've seen through the previous presenters, can't afford the cost, and some technologies haven't been evaluated well to show its appropriateness. So there was need for us to do a comparative study for a number of technologies so that we can show that actually with use of locally available materials, some of these technologies can be constructed on farm. Also that these mango storage options, when they're in place, especially in an aggregation center, actually farmers can aggregate their mangoes or any other commodity so they can have better bargaining power to sell their produce. In addition to the evaluation of the storage options, we evaluated use of modified atmospheric packaging, that's the use of active bag, to see how well can these actually improve the quality of the fruit stored in the cold storage. So these are the 4 technologies that were evaluated in my study. We have the zero energy brick cooler, the coolboard cold room, the evaporative charcoal cooler, and the Wakati tent. So as you can see, we use 2 mango varieties. That's Apple and Kent, mainly the dominant mango varieties in Kenya. And these were divided into 10 batches of 60 fruits, and they are evaluated under the 5 storage conditions. Of course, bearing in mind or factoring in the use of modified packaging atmospheric bags that were used. This is how the setup of the experiment looked like, having the 5 storage options, having some of the fruits packaged and some remain unpackaged. Then we measured a number of parameters, but for this study, we're gonna focus on the air and fruit pulp temperatures that were measured using data loggers, change in flesh color using a color meter, and the results will be sharing expressed in U angles. Then the overall shelf life based, of course, to the number of days taken before the fruits were ripened. Then we did some quality checks on TSS using a handheld refractometer. And the results I will share will be expressed in degrees Brix. So the design of the experiment was a factorial, and the data that was collected was analyzed in a GenStat. And of course, differences that were significant were done using LSD at 0.05. Generally, that's how my study looked like from the initial 2 mango varieties that we had, showing that the apple mangoes by the 12th day, those ones that were unpackaged, they were fully ripe and they couldn't have any more shelf life as compared to the rest of the storage options that were can call cool storage, for giving us an extended shelf life of 6 to 9 for the 3 chambers. That's the Wakati zero energy brick cooler and evaporative charcoal cooler, and of course 18 to 21 for the cool bot cold room across the 2 mango varieties. You can also check on the qualities of the fruits even on the end stage. They look different based on what I'm gonna share in the next results. For the first 24 hours that we stored the mangoes, this is how generally the air temperature was inside the coolers. And as you can see, we have the cool bot cold room that was preset at 12 degrees Celsius, which is an optimal storage temperature for most of the tropical fruits, being at around 10 to 11 degrees Celsius. Thank you. So, and then the rest of the the cooling options that we had some of them being as close to ambient. As you can see, Wakati doesn't really reduce the temperatures, but as you shall see through the results, you realize that the Wakati 10 humidifies the chamber inside. So we have high relative humidity that will help us reduce, minimize water loss. Moving forward to the pulp temperature of mango, the mango variety we used, as you can see, is that there wasn't really significant difference between fruits that were packaged and unpackaged in terms of the pulp temperature. But we realized that there was a really good significant difference in fruits under cold storage and those under ambient conditions, especially the fruits in the cool but cold room that were really in tandem with the air temperature of the storage option. So you realize that similar trends will be seen across the Kent variety, where again, as you can see, the cool bot cold room coming out good clearly to show that there was a significant difference in pulp temperature, and realize that this is one of the factors that will lead to most of the metabolic reactions, such as respiration. So it's always good to, when you take care of the pulp temperature, you should rest assured of the shelf extension. Moving forward to flesh color, we chose on flesh color because of the Kent variety that its inherent characteristics of not showing sometimes the peel color. So the flesh color, all the fruits are turned yellow from creamish white as they ripened. And as you can see, the U angles recorded here or presented here, all of them decreased as the fruits ripened across all the treatments. Of course, being steady in fruits under the ambient conditions, and also in some cool storage options such as the brick cooler, the evaporative charcoal cooler, and the Wakati. But this was a bit slower in packaged fruits. And in some of the photos I showed you during the first slide, you realize that the packaged fruits didn't really have a good color as compared to the unpackaged. And that can be seen across all the treatments. Of course, having kept away the oxygen and it slowed respiration and metabolic reactions inside the packaged fruit could have caused to that. So again, a similar trend being seen in Kent variety, where all fruits, as they ripened, they had their U angle reducing from the initial 89.41 to around 59.60 there. Of course, again, being steady in ambient conditions as compared to the cold stored fruits. For the quality checks, we had the TSS, the total soluble solids, where we had, again, fruits ripe as they ripen, they had the increased Brix level from around the initial 4.7 to around 16 or to 20, especially for the apple mango. That's has very high Brix level. And of course, to Kent to around 17, 18 because of its nature of having low Brix level. And again, this can be seen, as you can see, in the coolboard cold room, this steady increase in the increase in TSS in the coolboard cold room being a bit slower compared to the other options. That's the zero energy brick cooler, the evaporative charcoal cooler, and Wakati, and being more steady in the ambient fruits. So these we can see there is similar trend across the Kent variety in TSS levels. And as I said, of course, Kent are recording a lower Brix level, being the highest being 18.13 because of its inherent characteristics of having low Brix level. Main to the discussion points, we see that temperature is of importance in quality preservation of fruits such as mango, and it's always good to handle these fruits under, of course, cool temperatures, if possible, optimal, so that some of these reactions that I talked about are put in check, because the fruit that harvesting is still living, and these processes still go on that lead to faster ripening and deterioration. Of course, the flesh color that I've shown in decrease in all storage options, and this could be due to, of course, the ripening process that was taking place, but was lower in some of the cool storage options that I showed you. And this has been attributed to slow degradation of chlorophyll and synthesis of carotenoids and other anthocyanins as a result of low temperatures in these cooling options. Increase in TSS across the fruits, as I said, was lower in fruits that were packaged. This mainly because the fruits, we had low metabolic activities inside these fruits due to low oxygen and high carbon dioxide as provided by the active bags. These findings were similar to those done with other physical and nutritional changes of the fruit. And the other thing we realized that MAP actually complements cold storage. We know for all the problem associated with cold storage, especially with the wilting, and this is the remedy is provided by the MAP, where we have high relative humidity around the produce, thus reducing the water vapor pressure deficit. Also realize that with the gaseous composition being altered, the fruit is delayed to ripen as compared to the other fruits under the ambient and unpackaged. In conclusion, I will say that cold storage is of importance to preservation of quality of most perishable commodities, in this case mango, and is highly enhanced by the use of modified atmospheric packaging. However, we can use locally available materials to build most of our cold storage options, such as the zero energy brick cooler and the evaporative charcoal cooler, in order to make them affordable for the smallholder farmer. And again, with the results we've seen from the studies, that if mango shelf life can be extended for 9 to 24 days, as shown in the study, then the farmers who have these mangoes can actually aggregate, be able to raise the enough quantities required by traders, and also be able to process at a later stage or at a slower rate when the mangoes is on season. I want to acknowledge the consortium for having given this chance to present these results, and of course to the Rockefeller Foundation for funding this study. I thank you all.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And if you could stop sharing, that'd be great. We have one more presenter, and then we will have a question and answer session. Mamadou, could you do your presentation live? Is that possible?
Yeah, I can do it. I can do it live.
Great.
Hello?
Yep, we're here. Go ahead.
Just a few minutes. I'm coming. Hello? Just a few minutes. I'm coming.
If you double click the logo of that thing, then it will work, not the text.
Yeah. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. Hello, can I start? Hello?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mamadou.
Hello, can
Go
I?
ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. The Consortium for Innovations in Post-Harvest Loss and Waste Reduction. That's my research topic that I want to present. The first of three drying methods, oven, solar, sun, and sun on the phytochemical properties of Ethiopian pepper, Xylopia tuberca. Introduction. Ethiopian pepper, Xylopia ethiopiaca, known in English as grains of Ceylon or African grains of Ceylon, and in other languages such as French as Kili or grain de Ceylon, German as Niger Pifer, Greek as Africano Piferi, Hungarian as Arabus, Portuguese as Pinamata de Africa, and in Igbo as Uda. Is an evergreen aromatic tree of the Annunaceae family that can grow up to 20 meters high. It is a native to lowland Africa, rainforest, and most rainforests in the savanna zones of Africa. The fruit contains monoterpenes, which impart the spiciness on them. The fresh and the dry fruit, leaves, stem, bark, and root bark, essential oil, show various degrees of activity against several bacteria and certain fungi. It has also been used as a medicine for biliousness and febrile pains. The oil has also been used as mosquito repellent and antioxidant properties. The control and the monitoring of conditions in the traditional drying methods is difficult, especially during the raining season. Research by Madura and Kinsley indicated that sun drying exposed fruit to direct sun, wind, and microbes, leading to loss of essential bioactive compounds of the food. The nutritional and the phytochemical properties of the food are affected as a result of the transformation that may take place during drying. Also, prolonged drying may institute some changes that could negatively affect some functional properties of the product. There is little information on the drying of Ethiopian pepper by farmers, which they only adapt to the traditional sun drying methods, and sometimes it's unhygienic and time-consuming. Alternative drying methods are required to supplement the traditional drying method to maintain some desirable characteristics in the food. Method: experimental site. The experiment was carried out at the laboratory of the Department of Horticulture and Pharmacy, Bamikuma University of Science and Technology, Pharmacy. Sources of experimental materials. The fresh Ethiopian pepper were obtained from a renowned farm at Atubiasi in the Osunken district of the Ashanti region. Sample preparation. Physiologically mature food samples were harvested and 300 grams of the food sample were weighed. All foreign materials removed, washed with clean water, and further divided into sub-samples for the tray drying method, which is sun, oven, and solar rice. Dry fruit were ground into uniform fine powder using mixer grinder MG23, after which the laboratory analysis were performed. Experimental design. A completely randomized design were used and replicated 3 times. Parameter measured. Proximate composition as described by AOAC 1990. Quantitative analysis of the phytochemicals, kinase, arachidonics, saponoids, and glyphosate. Anti-nutritional components and minerals, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, iron, manganese, copper, and zinc. Data obtained from the laboratory analysis were subjected to analysis of value using status version 9. The differences in means were separated using LSD. The results presented in tables. Results. Table 1, quantitative analysis of chemicals in the xylopia after drying in milligram per kilogram. So we have the drying methods. We have the oven, solar, and sun. Then we have the chemicals. We have the kinase, we have the arachidonics, flavonoids, saponoids, and what? Glyphosate. So looking at the table, we can see that there were significant difference exist between the chemicals when they were subjected to what? The tray drying methods. Yes. As we look at kinase, there was significant difference. Arachidonics, the same thing applies to the rest of the chemicals. There were significant differences between them when they were subjected to the tray drying methods. So each value is a mean of 3 recipes. Standard error of the each sample value having the same alphabet as in the same subscript in the same column are not significant LS. Table 2. Effects of tray drying methods on the proximate composition of dry xylopia. So we have the drying methods, we have the oven, solar, and sun. Then we have the proximate composition. We have ash, carbohydrate, fruit fiber, fat, protein, and what? Moisture content. So as we can see from the table, we can see that with ash, fat, and protein, there were no significant difference that exists between them when they were subjected to the tray drying method. But significant difference exists between food fiber and what? Moisture content when they were subjected to the tray drying method. Table 3. Effects of three drying methods on the mineral composition. So as we can see on the board, the minerals, we have calcium, copper, iron, potassium, magnesium, and the drying method. So with this potassium and magnesium, there were no significant difference when they were subject to the three drying method. But there was significant difference between calcium, copper, and iron. Table 4, effects of trade diamond on the mineral. If you look at this table, we can see that manganese and phosphorus, as well as sodium, there were no significant difference. But nitrogen and zinc, there was significant difference that exists between them when they were subjected to the trade drying methods. Table 5 shows the effects of trade drying methods on the anti-nutritional component of the biological food. So with the anti-nutritional components, we have the thymine, saponin, oxalate, prothymine, and sarcosin. The same, if you look at the table, you can see that with the prothymine and sarcosin, there were no significant difference that exists between them. But with thymine, saponin, and oxalate, there was significant difference. Conclusion. Oven drying was more efficient than solar and sun in reducing the moisture, increasing fat, ash, and carbohydrate. Solar drying resulted in higher protein content, while higher fiber content was given by sun drying. Solar dry fruit had higher calcium, iron, copper, and zinc, while oven drying resulted in higher potassium and phosphorus content. However, out of the 5 anti-nutritional factors tested for, it was noted that all were greatly reduced by both oven and solar sun drying method, with sarcosis and prothymine appearing to be the most affected. The minimum distraction of the Ethiopian pepper fruit, moderate and constant temperature maintained during drying as a result of the use of oven drying method, make it the best and the proper way for processing the Ethiopian pepper. Recommendation. It is recommended that the future studies should be focused on the appropriate storage method for the pepper after processing, and the sensory properties of the powdered food when used to prepare food. Some features of the xylopia. So we have figure 1, xylopia plant with fruits. Figure 2, a picture of fresh xylopia fruit with inflorescence. Figure 3, freshly harvested xylopia fruits. Figure 4, sun-dried xylopia fruits. Then plate 5, oven-dried xylopia fruits. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamadou. We really appreciate the presentation. So now we have the last three presenters. We will have a quick question and answer session. So Mamadou, if you could stop sharing your screen, that would be great. And we will get to the question and answer session immediately. Okay, Mamadou, if you could stop sharing your screen, that would be great. Or Nicholas, if you could stop the share on that for us, please. Let's get to the question and answer session. Emmanuel, I have a question for you real quickly. While it appears that the CoolBot may be the most effective, what's the best technology among those that were tested?
Okay, thank you. That's a question from Dr. Sonka. And I had answered this, but I would say that yes, the CoolBot was the best. And the 3 other coolers, that the zero energy brick cooler, the evaporative charcoal cooler, and Wakati were giving us almost the same shelf life. But however, the quality from the nutritional quality and the quality checks we did, the fruits coming from the evaporative charcoal cooler had better nutrition and quality checks as compared to the other fruits, even from the photos. So I will say the evaporative charcoal cooler give us the second option for adoption.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. I have a question for Tentenda. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of the consumer? Are consumers demanding this type of coding, or are they worried about what the coding is in the coding? Can you talk a little bit more about consumers of fruit and your code edible coding?
All right, thank you very much for the question. Part of what we wanted to do was distribute.
I think we may have you're breaking up, Tentenda, and I
Maybe turn off the video.
yeah, maybe if you
study that would give us a good consumers would think of the fruit, but we couldn't really manage. Okay, so I was saying that we wanted to do a sensory study, but we had some challenges, so we ended up doing a volatile analysis. We were mainly looking for products of fermentation such as ethanol, and just to get a good picture of maybe how the food would taste while in the, to consumers. And from what we found out was that towards the end, there could be challenges, but between 0 to 35 days of cold storage, if a consumer would get an opportunity to consume the fruit between that period, the levels of those products that usually cause off flavors and bad odors were still fine in the fruit. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that. I know I'm going to ask a question out loud that you've answered in the question and answer function, but is coated fruit, will it be exposed? I'm sorry. Could you talk a little bit about contaminants with regard to air pollution? There was a question in the chat that you already answered, but I wanted to ask it to you out loud. So
okay, perfect. Yes, so definitely when the fruit is on retail in the supermarket, it will be exposed to fungi, bacteria, and everything. And when we're formulating the fruit, was adding agents that can minimize decay, the use of lemongrass oil and pomegranate peel extract to see how the coating would perform. And we actually observed that the coating minimized decay. So yeah, the fruit does get exposed to contaminants, but the coating does pretty well in reducing the decay.
okay, great. And Mamadou, I have a question for you, and you may not be able to answer it, but do you have any idea of the cost difference in the three methods that you were looking at? I guess maybe he's not here, but so.
Kai, one question I have for Emmanuel. Emmanuel and I have been going back and forth on the chat, which is did you in any of the studies that you tested? Did you measure any relative humidity values of the air that's surrounding any of the fruit in any of the systems you tested?
Yes, Dr. Dak, I did test that, and it's just due to the shortness of the presentation I didn't share, but for the cool bot cold room, we're talking about 60 to 70%. For evaporative coolers, that's 90, above 90, all of them, even same to the Wakati 10. But for the ambient, we talking about 40 to 50.
Thank you. That would be great data also to know, so one can kind of evaluate the effectiveness of the cooling process too. So thank you. Good.
Oh.
Great. Okay, I think now we've done a number of questions here, and so we're going to move on to our second session, which is the poster session, which is a quick fire session. And so we are going to encourage everyone to ask questions about the posters in the chat or in the question and answer function, and that we will have, that's how we will ask the questions. And so we will just move through these. They're only 3-minute presentations quite quickly. So that's what we're going to do now. Hopefully all our poster presenters are here and ready to take your questions. And I also encourage the presenters to themselves ask questions of their colleagues and get in debates. And it was great that Dr. Meyer and Emmanuel were going back and forth about his work. That's what this symposium is about chatting back and forth. So in just a second, we will start the first poster, and we will just go right down through the list. So.
Hello everyone, my name is George Obing Akrofi. I'm a PhD student in Ag and Biosystems Engineering at Iowa State University, and I'm here to present to you a research poster on the evaluation of hermetic bag technology to preserve shea nuts in rural Ghana. Shea nut is an oil-bearing crop of African origin which is in high demand due to its processed shea butter that is used in the production of pharmaceutical, cosmetic, and edible products such as vegetable cooking oil. At the rural production level, shea nut is lost due to post-harvest handling, specifically at the storage aspects where nuts are not being handled properly, leading to huge insects and mold infestation. This study therefore considered the use of a hermetic storage technology, the effectiveness of a hermetic storage technology as compared to other traditional methods that is being practiced locally, such as the use of the jute sack and the polypropylene bag. With the key results that we are finding over the 12-week storage period, we are seeing that based on the physical quality assessed, that is moisture content, insect infestation and damage, mold development and CO2, the hermetic bag is actually maintaining the moisture content of the shea nut that has been stored over the 12-week period. And as such, shea nuts stored in the jute and the PP bags have decreased by 2.2 and 2.5 percentage points respectively. And it is worth noting that the reduction in the moisture content at this point in time translates directly to the loss of value in terms of economic value of the crop, since it will be sold at a lesser price with lesser weight. Also, insect damage of shea nuts in hermetic bag has been maintained below 30% as compared to about 70% in the jute and polypropylene bags. The weight loss in the hermetic bag due to insect damage has been maintained below 4.2 as compared to about 6 and 8 in the jute and polypropylene bags respectively. Also, there's been the use of a seal check CO2 meter which directly measures the CO2 concentration in hermetic bag, and that has been effective throughout the 12-week period, and we are measuring 5% CO2 level in the hermetic bag. For ongoing research, since we monitored temperature and relative humidity in the ambient condition and also at the storage level, we are carrying out an equilibrium moisture content relationship of the shea nut as a function of these parameters. Also, the nutritional profile of shea butter that has been processed from these shea nuts stored in these three different treatments is being carried out at Iowa State University Food Science Laboratory. And also, with this 12-week period of quality assessment, is going to be continued through to the 6th month or the 24 weeks assessment. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you. Thank you, George, and we'll move on to the next poster.
Hussein Juna Yako, presenting on strategies for revamping tomato processing in Ghana. Case study 2, Wenchi Tomacan Processing Plant. Tomato is a vegetable belonging to the Solanaceae family and consists of more than 300 species. Tomato paste is the most crucial consumed vegetable in Ghana. Tomato processing help in creating jobs, facilitate rural development, generate income to farmers. It also helps in reducing post-harvest losses. Ghana is ranked the second largest consumer of tomato paste globally. Ghana imports approximately 7,000 tons of tomato paste annually. In the 1960s, 3 tomato processing plants were set up to reduce the heavy importation of tomato paste. These processing plants unfortunately collapsed due to a lot of reasons in the late 1980s. Some of the reasons were frequent breakdown, obsolete machinery, lack of spare parts, lack of technical competence, and structural reforms from IMF. To reduce tomato paste importation into Ghana, it is necessary to invest, revamp or establish more tomato processing plants. The objective of the study is to determine strategies to revamp existing tomato processing plants in Ghana. Some of the strategies to be used are variety. The tomato variety to be used should be high yielding, fast maturing, high demand, and should have thick pericarp to facilitate mechanical harvesting. There should be contract farming. There should be contractual agreement between farmers and processing plant management. There should be commercial farms. Commercial farms should be established by the processing plant management. Then the farming could be planned for 2 or 3 times of cropping in a year. There should be outsourcing from other producing areas or regions. Tomatoes could be outsourced from other producing areas or regions. There should be logistics in terms of transportation, warehousing, and management of raw materials. Facility management. There should be competent staff to manage the facility the day in, day out of the facility. In conclusion, once this is done, it will help in reducing the heavy importation of tomato paste into Ghana. It will create jobs, then it will extend post-harvest life of the plant. It will also ensure food security capacity of Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you, Fuzini. And just ask your questions in the chat and go back and forth. And here is the third poster coming right up from Epiphany.
My name is Epiphany Karekezi from Eastern Africa Grain Council. I'm going to present on combating aflatoxin in the maize value chain in Rwanda. Agriculture is central to the structural transformation of Rwanda's economy, contributing to economic growth, export, and job creation. One challenge among others is the presence of aflatoxins in the maize value chain, and here are some of its implications. We have loss of economic opportunities, whereby we have high cost of maize import by big processing companies due to lack of local quality maize. We also have public health hazard, whereby you have an enlargement of liver, kidneys, and spleen. You have also stunting in children and others. To come up with this, a 2-year project has been developed by 4 partners institutions in Rwanda and was funded by AGRA to work on aflatoxin mitigation in the Eastern Province. And from 2019 up to now, we had 4 main objectives. One, we have awareness creation for actors in the maize value chain on aflatoxins and its dangers, increased quality maize productivity for smallholder farmers through strengthened market-led extension services, and third, we have to introduce the buying and selling maize on cob model as one of the prevention methods, and 4, we had strengthened and expanded market access. Here I mean structured market access for aflatoxin-free maize. And as output, here we have awareness created to more than 40,000 farmers. We also have more than 50,000 metric tons of aflatoxin-free maize sold through structured market. And we also have more than 30,000 farmers trained on post-harvest management practices and contract procedures. And lastly, we have a national aflatoxin management plan under development. As conclusions and the way forward, the model of buying and selling maize on cob has been seen as an efficient way to avoid any kind of contamination, but it requires a lot of investment in terms of logistics. And as a way forward, we can recommend that the government and partners have to reinforce the contract law and follow its implementation to avoid farmers who sell on cob from losing maize and money when off-takers cannot respect their contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Epiphany. I just want to make sure that everyone's seeing the posters clearly. I got a message that there was a blurry. If you're having a problem, please, any problems, please put that in the chat so that the posters can be seen clearly. And again, I encourage you all to ask questions in the chat of the poster presenters, and we will go to the next poster right now.
Good day, everyone. My name is Samuel Kofi Nyako from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm making a presentation with a team comprising Professor Faustina Dufie Rekumenu, Dr. Joseph Opunakua, and Mr. Yaojau Achrekun, all of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm privileged to present on the comparative studies on grain quality and pesticide residues of maize stored in hermetic and polypropylene bags. Conventional methods of grain storage involving the use of polypropylene bags in conjunction with pesticides and hermetic bags is paramount in developing countries. However, there is limited information on grain quality and pesticide residues concentration in maize stored in such storage systems. This work aimed to determine the grain quality and pesticide residue concentrations of maize stored in polypropylene and hermetic bags. Maize samples stored in a period of 1 year in polypropylene and hermetic bags respectively were obtained from 3 major maize growing communities in the Ashanti region of Ghana and were analyzed for grain quality, aflatoxin content, and pesticide residue concentration using standard methods. All grain quality parameters in the hermetic bags were significantly lower than that in the polypropylene bags in all 3 study areas. The levels of aflatoxin in maize stored in polypropylene bags were significantly higher than maize stored in the hermetic bags from all study locations. Out of the 35 pesticide residues that were screened, only lambda cyhalothrin was detected in polypropylene bags and deltamethrin was detected in hermetic bags respectively. The presence of these pesticide residues may be due to the paradigm shift from the use of highly poisonous organochlorine and organophosphorus pesticides to a relatively safer
I'm sorry, we're having a problem with the quality of the posters. And so just bear with us for 1 second here.
I'm wondering, Kyle, whether you potentially could the narrations, but show a PDF version in the screen share. That might be possible. I don't know.
Yeah, so I apologize for this. I'm just going to gonna look at. Okay, so I'm going to try this one more time with Samuel's, and I apologize if the other ones weren't clear. So let's see if this works, and if not, Nicholas, if you could try to on your end to try to look at the folders. It may be my computer, so look at the Dropbox folder, the backup folder. Maybe you'll need to share soon. Okay.
Okay.
Good day, everyone. My name is Samuel Kofi from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm making a presentation with a team comprising Professor Faustina Dufie Rekumenu, Dr. Joseph Oponkua, and Mr. Yaojau Achrekun, all of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. I'm privileged to present on the comparative studies on grain quality and pesticide residues of maize stored in hermetic and polypropylene bags. Conventional methods of grain storage involving the use of polypropylene bags in conjunction with pesticides and hermetic bags is paramount in developing countries. However, there is limited information on grain quality and pesticide residues concentration in maize stored in such storage systems. This work aimed to determine the grain quality and pesticide residue concentrations of maize stored in polypropylene and hermetic bags. Maize samples stored in a period of 1 year in polypropylene and hermetic bags respectively were obtained from 3 major maize growing communities in the Ashanti region of Ghana and were analyzed for grain quality, aflatoxin content, and pesticide residue concentration using standard methods. All grain quality parameters in the hermetic bags were significantly lower than that in the polypropylene bags in all 3 study areas. The levels of aflatoxin in maize stored in polypropylene bags were significantly higher than maize stored in the hermetic bags from all study locations. Out of the 35 pesticide residues that were screened, only lambda cyhalothrin was detected in polypropylene bags and deltamethrin was detected in hermetic bags respectively. The presence of these pesticide residues may be due to the paradigm shift from the use of highly poisonous organochlorine and organophosphorus pesticides to a relatively safer pyrethrope group of pesticides. The levels of lambda cyhalothrin residues were above the maximum residual limit of 0.02 milligram per kilogram, but have no significant effect on human health. Deltametrin concentrations in the hermetically stored maize samples were also below the maximum residual limit of 2.0 milligram per kilogram. In conclusion, maize grains stored in hermetic bags have higher grain quality, lower aflatoxin and pesticide residue concentration than maize grains stored in polypropylene bags. Henceforth, education and promotion of the utilization of hermetic bags should be prioritized in storing and supplying safe maize grains to consumers. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. And I think we may have solved the problem, hopefully, of the illegible posters. But let me tell you that we will post all of the presentations online later, and so you'll have the highest quality there. But we apologize for that technical problem, and so we will just go on with the next poster here from Fernando.
Hi, my name is Fernando. I'm from the University of São Paulo in Brazil. I'm here to give you a very short presentation about the work entitled Assessing Transport Infrastructure Projects for a More Sustainable Food Supply Chain, a Brazilian Case Study. So we all know that investments in transport infrastructure has economic, social, and environmental impacts. In this case, I'm analyzing 26 new infrastructure projects, railway and waterway projects that the soybean industry in Brazil has been studying in the recent years. So I wanted to analyze and compare these projects based on a sustainability metric, a sustainability index. I'm calling these indexes as economic, environmental, social, and efficiency. And this index is created using economic, social, and environmental variables. And one of these variables is the soybean loss during transport operations. So in the map, in the middle part of the poster, you can see the top 4 projects in terms of sustainability. The Malha Norte Railway Expansion Project, it has the higher level of economic, environmental, and social efficiency, and this project should be treated as a priority in terms of public policies for investments in transport infrastructure. And in the chart, you can see the relation between the soybean loss during transport and this economic, environmental, and social efficiency metrics. So there is a good correlation. The greater the sustainability of the project, the lower is the level of soybean loss during transport operations. But on the other hand, for these cases analyzed by this work, the project with the higher level of potential for transportation cost reductions, the size of the circle, is the project with the higher level of soybean loss during transport operations. So I think this, in terms of recommendation, again, Malha Norte Railway Expansion Project has the higher level of sustainability, of efficiency when considering the analysis and the cases studied in this work. I think there is a way to develop a more sustainable food systems through the selection of more sustainable transport infrastructure projects. So this is the main idea of my work. And I think, again, post-harvest loss and food waste metrics have to be considered for future investment selection criteria. In terms of future opportunities, I think there is a long road when analyzing future projects, future investments, and I think the usage of post-harvest loss and future food waste metrics in planning and developing new food systems and the development of food systems is still small in the academia and in the academic literature. I think this is a great opportunity for new students, new researchers, and new papers. So when I think this combination of methods can also be applied when analyzing and comparing countries, communities, new post-harvest loss and food waste solutions, and also, why not, food systems. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Fernando.
Hello everyone, I'm Emmanuel Anna, an English student at KU University Ghana, and I'm presenting on the comparative assessment of cold storage and hermetic storage on maize grain quality. Maize is an important cereal crop in Africa, in Ghana, and we know that its consumption is needed throughout the whole year. And this makes it very important for farmers to store their maize securely and to increase their food security and also to draw better prices from the sale of their surplus. However, there are biotic and abiotic factors, especially after harvest, which contribute to losses in quality and quantity. And with an increasing world population to feed, it's very important for us to reduce such losses. Now, to determine the effects of cold storage and hermetic bag storage on maize grain viability, nutritional content, and quality. And maize grains were stored in polypropylene bag with phosphorus pellets and zero fly hermetic bag under room temperature, and also polypropylene bags in cold storage. Baseline information for germination percentage, moisture content, insect incidence, percentage insect damage, aflatoxin content, proximate composition and color were taken before put under 4 months of storage. And a monthly extractive sampling was done to all the treatments, and the samples were taken to the lab for analysis. Now to the result. After 1 month of storage, the germination percentage, which initially was 86.7, reduced in PP back to 60, that of cold storage to 75, and the hermetic back to 71.7. And the moisture content also initially was 13%, but after 1 month of storage, PP bag got to 13.2, the cold storage 11.1, hermetic bag 12.9. And I believe that there is a correlation between the moisture and the germination, because moisture, an increase in moisture or something has an effect on the viability of a seed. And I think because of that, we wouldn't be able to speak much more of that. Also, there is an initial proximate composition, which after the final one is taken, we will compare to see if there was any change in the nutritional content of this of each storage treatment. Now, results from the parameters determined as at the end of the first month shows grain stored under cold storage have the highest quality, followed by the zero fly hermetic bag and PP with chemicals. But we all know smallholder farmers are not good to go with cold storage because of the higher costs involved, and also it brings me to my second and third objective as to why they are not adopting the hermetic storage technology, and also factors which are hindering them, and also to know the profitability analysis for these storage treatments or devices. Thank you very much. And below are my references. Thank you.
Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Teddy. And we will move right along here. I hope that you're having answering questions in the chat. We're on poster 7 of 11, so we'll keep on going here.
Hello everyone, my name is George Obeng Akrofi, and I'm here to present to you on the application of analytical hierarchy process in the selection of an appropriate biomass burner heat source for drying of maize in a cross-flow column dryer. Recently, we've been blessed with the introduction of various post-harvest loss technologies that suit the need of the smallholder farmer. For instance, when it comes to the management of insect pests during storage, we have with us the use of hermetic storage bags, the use of wood ash, even with the use of fertilizers, and until recently, the use of the disturbance method, which has proven to be viable in managing insect pests. However, you would agree with me that there comes a point where we are torn between lovers. In other words, there's a time where a farmer, an NGO, or even for research purposes would have to select one technology to suit our desire in in terms of using this technology to overcome certain problems that we face along the post-harvest value chain. This brings us to our study, which we use the analytical hierarchy process, which is a multi-criterion decision method to select a biomass burner to be used as part of a low-cost drying system to dry maize or corn in Ghana. As part of its process, the analytical hierarchy process, also known as the AHP, allows the user to select a specific alternative, be it different drying methods, be it different storage methods, or even in our case, different biomass burners based on certain criteria. So, for instance, in our study, we considered some criteria that would be viable in the selection of a biomass burner, such as the burner efficiency, the ease of use, cost of manufacture, and so on and so forth, as presented in Figure 2. Based on these criteria, you carry out a pairwise comparison, which allows you to select these biomass burners or the various alternatives that you have throughout the process. So, as seen in Figure 2, it can be found out that based on the relative weight of importance, the burner efficiency is one of the most important criteria that should be considered in the selection of a biomass burner. Moving on in that regard, it is seen that in Figure 3, following through the process of the AHP method, alternative 1, which is the portable biomass burner, also known as the KNUST-ABE biomass burner, was selected as the best alternative due to its priority value of 0.767 out of 1. The further question that may pop up will be, so what, after selecting this biomass burner, what was done? The KNUST-ABE biomass burner was actually incorporated into a low-cost column dryer and used to assess the technical and economical viability of adopting such dryers in a smallholder farmer case system. Further studies or further research that was done could be assessed using the QPR code, which if you scan your phone's camera through, you'll be able to know what was done in that study. Thank you very much for listening to me. Bye.
Thank you, Greg. And then we will move right along with the next presentation. Sorry, the next poster.
Good day all. I am Chidoke Leonard Nkwacha, a master's student in the Department of Mechanical and Mechatronic Engineering, Stellenbosch University. I am presenting a research on evaluation of logistic alternatives in refrigerated freight of fresh fruits. This research is focused on exploring the potential of loading fruit at above optimum temperature for flexibility and improved transport scheduling in the horticultural industries. In doing this, an export trial shipment of Golden Delicious apple fruit was conducted from South Africa to Nigeria, in which sensors were deployed to obtain the ambient and fruit core temperatures in the container during the period of shipment. Also, fruit quality measurement was done at the loading and unloading ports, and the data obtained were analyzed. The main findings in this research are in the fruit core temperatures and the ambient temperatures reached inside the container during the period of shipment, as well as the fruit quality upon arrival, as seen in the figures in the middle. The first figure here shows the maximum and the minimum temperatures reached inside the container, and as seen, the maximum temperature is about 5.8 degrees Celsius at the back region of the container, and the minimum is about minus 0.9 degrees Celsius at the front region of the container, the cooling unit side, while the average is maintained below 2 degrees Celsius. And this is so because the cold air comes from the cooling unit size and travels through stacks of pallets towards the door region. And by the time it gets to the door region, it gets warmer. And these temperatures have impact on the food core temperatures, as seen in the second figure here. The maximum food core temperature is about 0.9 degrees Celsius at the back region of the container, and the minimum is about minus 0.7 degrees Celsius at the front region, as expected. And the average core temperature here started at 1.25 degrees Celsius, and in 12 days of cooling inside the container was able to bring down the core temperatures to 0.1 degrees Celsius, close to the optimum temperature, and this was maintained during the period of shipment, thereby reducing the losses which occur during post-harvest handling of fresh fruit. The third figure here shows the fruit firmness as one of the quality attributes measured, and as seen, the firmness levels here are above the minimum of 6.3 kgf, which is the standard specification according to industries for good quality fruits. The top right figure here shows the zero decay incidence of the fruit before and after shipment, while the bottom right figure here shows the container geometry developed in ANSYS Design Modeler. Our current work here is in the modeling of different scenarios of loading fruits at a pre-optimum temperature in order to propose the use of reefer containers as partial pre-coolers in the horticultural industries following validation of the model. Also, for adequate and practical guidance to industries, loading at higher pre-optimum temperatures, say 5 degrees Celsius.
Thank you very much,
should be
Ilkia,
considered.
and
Thank you.
thank you for that. And we'll move on to the next poster here. Okay. I guess the last one was a bit blurry. I apologize for that. We'll have this up on the web for you. If you want to take a look at that, but we'll keep going on with the posters here as well. From Jack. Jack is next.
Hello, everyone. My name is George Obeng.
Sorry, that was George's again. Apologies on that.
Hi everyone, my name is Jack Schwickerath, and I'm a master's student in the Department of Agriculture and Biological Systems Engineering at Iowa State University. And I'll be sharing with you a poster about my master's project on developing a training manual for a pedal-powered grain cleaner that is being introduced to rural farmers in Uganda through a collaboration with a private Ugandan fabrication company, Badea Technologies, and the non-governmental organization Iowa State Uganda Program, also known as ISU-UP. This project is a collaboration between myself and two individuals, Ishmael Mayanji and Thomas Buyenza. Ishmael is the creator of the pedal-powered grain cleaner and a founder of Badea Technologies, and Thomas is the coordinator for post-harvest projects for ISU-UP. So how did this project come to be? Well, Ishmael designed this grain cleaner attempting to improve upon the grain cleaning process from the traditional techniques of winnowing or separation via screens. He then partnered with ISU-UP to introduce 5 prototype machines to farmers to gauge interest and get feedback on the design. Ishmael, Thomas, and others wrote a report showing that there was demand in the area for the grain cleaner. They did this through tracking distances farmers would travel to use the machine, showing, for instance, one farmer was willing to travel 2 kilometers to clean their grain. As I became more involved, I saw the opportunity to facilitate the introduction of the machine via structured trainings focused on why farmers should clean grain and the operation of the machine. So the training manual's objective is to facilitate trainings, and it has been developed through the application of adult learning and professional development concepts. The content of the training manual is divided into two sections, one about the purpose of grain cleaning and the second about the operation of the machine. Each of these sections have learning objectives utilizing verbiage from Bloom's taxonomy, learning activities like discussion and demonstrations, and learning assessments. A standard operating procedure for the machine was also developed. In the immediate future, Badea Technology has plans for the introduction of 9 more machines to farmers for feedback. This will be the first opportunity for the training manual to be utilized by ISUUP to develop trainings. Thanks for your time, and I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Jack, for that. And we will head to the next one and with Francis. Francis will be our next poster.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Francis Samuel, presenting on impact of manual peeling on small-scale cassava processing. Small-scale cassava processors dominate the sector in Ghana. However, they depend on manual methods, including manual peeling, which is laborious and slow for their operations. Therefore, this study sought to investigate the impact of manual peeling on the operations of small-scale cassava processors. By way of method, focus group discussion and structured questionnaires were used, and Gari and high-quality cassava flour processors in parts of Ashanti, Bono East, and Volta regions of Ghana were engaged in the study. From the study, 3 main issues were identified. First, peeling losses due to manual peeling. What happens is people engaged in peeling are paid based on the quantity they are able to peel at a time. Hence, they do it at a very fast rate, and this leads to some level of losses. Also, small size cassava roots or undersized roots are rejected because such roots are difficult to peel manually. And because of these activities, processors estimated that about 150 kg of cassava could be lost per 3 to 4 tons of cassava processed. Secondly, people, that is women and sometimes children, engaged in peeling also undertake other economic activities such as harvesting of mangoes and cashew when they are in season. Therefore, during such times, such people are not available to be engaged by processors for peeling, and this hinders the operations of processors. And lastly, due to the slow rates of peeling and the number of people needed per batch of cassava to be peeled, processors are not able to handle large quantities of cassava, and this places a limitation on their operations. From the study, all processors engaged expressed the need and the desire for an effective mechanical cassava peeler. Hence, it is the recommendation of this study that such a peeler be developed, evaluated, and disseminated to assist the operations of these processes. Figure 1 shows focus group discussion underway. Figure 2 shows Gari processors in operation. Figure 3 shows manual processing of cassava being undertaken by women, whilst figure 4, 5, and 6 show products of manual peeling after it is undertaken. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francis, for that. And we will go to the next poster here, which is Hori's. And this will be our final poster. So
Hi, hi everyone. Welcome to this presentation titled Mango Post-Harvest Technologies, an observational study of the YieldWise initiative in Kenya. My name is Hori Chikez. I'm a PhD candidate at...
Sorry, I had to stop that for a second and just start something else here. I apologize for that.
Iowa State University in the Department of Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering. Over the past decades, mango farming in Kenya has expanded considerably, involving several value chain actors. Mango farming is also considered a major income earner for many smallholder farming households in Kenya. However, mango production is usually accompanied by major post-harvest losses, estimated at 40 to 50%, which are mainly the result of a lack of suitable technologies for the post-harvest handling. Therefore, this study evaluated the effect of 5 technologies promoted by the Rockefeller Foundation YieldWise initiative in Kenya on post-harvest loss incurred at 3 mango value chain stages. So each technology you see in figure 5 over here was compared to its alternative traditional practice used by the smallholder farmers. The Crosco-Wallace tests, done tests with the Benjamini-Hochberg adjustment, was used to make the comparisons. And for each comparison displayed in figure 1 to figure 4, the number of smallholder farmers is represented by the letters N in the legend. Subsequently, our results show that plastic crates in figure 1 and fruit fly traps in figure 2 were statistically significant in reducing post-harvest losses at the point of sale. It can also be noted that plastic crates and fruit fly traps were the most adopted technologies with N values equal 320 and 125 respectively. Therefore, efforts to reduce post-harvest loss in the mango value chain should prioritize plastic crates and fruit fly traps. Our results also show that post-harvest loss reduction from smallholder farmers using harvesting tools in figure 3 and cold stores in figure 4 were not statistically significant. Furthermore, harvesting tools and cold stores were the least adopted technologies with N values equal to 49 and 18 respectively. Last, post-harvest loss increase were detected from smallholder farmers using tarps in figure 2. Hence, benefit of tarps should be further investigated since smallholder farmers were not always involved when tarps were used. Finally, an online interactive mango post-harvest loss dashboard was created to support this study's result and to further explore mango post-harvest losses as a function of several factors and combinations thereof. The dashboard can be accessed by scanning the following QR code with your smartphone camera. Thank you.
Thank you, Hori. And that was the conclusion of our poster session. And I know before we go on, I know that this isn't in the schedule, but I'm going to throw a curveball here. I just wanted to ask maybe Dirk or Jan or Joost or someone to just say a few words about the poster, since we don't have a formal question and answer session. So go ahead.
Jan, would you care to make some comments?
That's fine.
Go ahead.
I've seen quite a number of posters. Very interesting. I think the subjects were very broad, but all in the end oriented on food loss, post-harvest food loss and waste reduction. I think, it also varies from analyzing the effectiveness of some technologies and also more on the education and training part. And yes, I think this really helps in further developing the knowledge base of all kinds of solutions, because we all contribute to improving this the post-harvest chain, to making it more effective. And well, I'm very impressed by the broadness and also the mostly very accurately and well-designed experiments that you've done. So thank you very much. Also, thanks for the very nice presentations, which, although the slides were not always clearly visible, but I think the message was very clear, and I look also forward to seeing the definite posters, because I think we would happily use these results, and I hope you can also bring this to scientific publications.
Thank you, Jan. How about Joost?
Yeah, thanks all. Well, more or less the same from my side. So I was impressed by the amount of work that showed, and also the difference in the research topics, and well, some things that are closer to my expertise. So and it's nice to see, and also the thoroughness, and especially when you're looking at capability or the storageability of products within different bags or storage facilities. So it's really nice to see. And well, I thought, well, the technology was not really a hiccup. So, but we need some time to chew on this and to look things back and to really grab the idea pictures. And what I also like is that I was myself a little bit less active in the chat, but quite some good questions in the chat and back to each other. I really liked this, and I also hope that the people that did the presentations, the power presentation and the presentation itself, also had the feeling that they had enough time to tell what they wanted to tell, because it's always a challenge, especially when you're doing nice research that you really believe in. So, yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'll make some remarks at the end after the next session, Kyle, or that way we can keep on schedule. But thank you.
Right. So I just want to acknowledge the folks and give people a chance to react to that. And you can keep the conversation going in the chat. We apologize for the technological problem, but anyway, we have 3 additional 10-minute presentations and 1 question session left. So we're right on schedule. And so we'll start off with that here. And again, hopefully if the technology isn't working, please stop us, and we'll go from there. But we're right on schedule. This is the 3rd session now, and we're back. We'll be doing 3 10-minute presentations. And the first one is up. I am going to share the screen right now.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Joshua Alote from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Kumasi, Ghana. I present to you on sport tomatoes, public conception and microbial assessment. Approximately 440,000 tons of tomatoes are consumed annually in Ghana. And Ghana produces less tomatoes from the less tomatoes than the domestic demand, yet 37.5% is lost to post-harvest loss. Tomatoes are highly perishable and susceptible to microbial spoilage. However, several reports indicate Ghanaians consume spoiled tomatoes. The aim of the study is to investigate the public conception on spoiled tomatoes, the factors that are influencing the consumption of spoiled tomatoes, as well as the microbial load associated with such spoiled tomatoes. The study employs descriptive survey where 350 respondents were interviewed from 7 selected markets within Kumasi. The study further analyzed the presence of microbes on 8 sampled tomatoes from selected markets in Kumasi. This figure shows the study area for the study. Results and then discussion. On public conception of spoiled tomatoes, the study revealed that many people believe that tomato is deemed spoiled when there is juice or water oozing out of it. That is at the point where the tomato has lost its physical strength and then it's losing its energy as a result of the water or the liquid oozing out of it. Then it's an indication that the tomato is spoiled. Again, when the tomato, after a long while in its shelf, begins to ooze water and then begins to produce foul smell, then to the public knowledge or to the public conception, such a tomato is deemed spoiled. On the consumption of spoiled tomato, the study affirmed that there are a lot of people that do consume spoiled tomatoes. However, the consumers of spoiled tomatoes were grouped into two, that is household and commercial food vendors. The result indicated that commercial food vendors ranked 62%, leading the consumption of spoiled tomatoes, implying that most food vendors usually prefer to buy spoiled tomatoes for their food preparation. Again, as to whether there is market available for spoiled tomatoes, the study probed to find out, and the result indicated that yes, indeed, there is market for spoiled tomatoes, and this is affirmed by the fact that it has already been established that commercial food vendors are patronizing spoiled tomatoes. Definitely, in as much as they are doing that, it means they are buying it from the local tomato vendor on the markets. As to whether there is profits in spoiled tomatoes, the vendors indicated that there is no profits, or there is no profit associated with the sales of spoiled tomatoes, because it's only a means to an end, because they do not want to lose their capital when the tomatoes are going bad or losing their shape and the water begins to ooze out and is giving off bad smell. They reduce the prices and sell it to the consumers, who are equally willing and ready to patronize. As to why many people prefer to buy spoiled tomatoes or consume spoiled tomatoes to the fresh tomatoes, these factors are very important in here. That is price. Because given spoiled tomatoes and fresh tomatoes, spoiled tomatoes are usually sold at a lesser or a lower price, and because many people do not want to spend much money to obtain the tomatoes they want to consume, they resort to buying tomatoes at lesser price, therefore going in for spoiled tomatoes. The quantity is also another factor. Many people would want more tomatoes to buy, yet would want to pay less, therefore resorting to this spoiled tomatoes. The study brought out some perception held by the public on sport tomatoes. And it is a public opinion that sport tomatoes are cheaper than fresh tomatoes. It is again a public opinion that mostly public food operators are the people that mostly use sport tomatoes. The public still remain indifferent about the fact that spot tomatoes could cause disease or otherwise. And then the public, it is also a public view that very often spoiling of tomatoes is as a result of the long distances the buses or the vehicles that transport tomatoes would have to cover from the farm gate to the market center. Another important factor that result or that leads to the consumption of sport tomatoes is lack of storage facilities. Many of the market visited do not have efficient storage systems. Therefore, when tomatoes are brought to the market for sale, they are left at the mercies of the weather and they easily go bad. Even and as well as at homes, many households do not also have efficient means of storing their tomatoes, and for that matter, tomatoes are unable to keep long on the shelf. And when such tomatoes go bad, instead of discarding it, people choose to consume them. On a microbial analysis, there's 8 samples of tomatoes were bought from selected markets. These tomatoes were at different levels of spoilage, right from fresh firm tomatoes to an induced spoiled tomatoes. That is tomato that was bought fresh but intentionally left in the market condition for a period of 2 weeks for it to go bad. The analysis as per the Ghana Standard Authority is that there should be the threshold given for human consumption is as above. However, the study indicated that for all the samples that had a sort or a form of bruised opening or brokenness on the skin surface recorded high levels of microbial load, especially with sample E, F, G, and H, where there were high records of E. coli present in such tomatoes. The load of yeast and molds were too numerous to count, and the TVC, that is the total viable count, were also highly exceeding the threshold set by the Ghana Standard Authority, giving an indication that all such tomatoes are highly infected by microbes and are not good for human consumption. The study concludes that tomatoes that has the liquid oozing out and giving off bad smell is deemed spoiled, and that the major factors that are influencing the consumption of spoiled tomatoes is the price and quantity, as well as lack of storage facilities. So going forward, what the way forward is to install efficient storage facilities at the various market centers where tomatoes could be stored to protect it from going bad. And that the high rate of E. coli present on spoiled tomatoes sold on the Ghanaian market present a serious threat to public health, and then it needs to be attended to. And food safety policy should be set to ban the sales of spoiled food commodities from the local Ghanaian markets. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. And we will go on with 2 additional presentations. So here's the from Loretta. Loretta is next.
Hello, I'm Loretta Odro from the Department of Food Science and Technology at KNUST. I present to you a comparative study on nutritional and phytochemical composition of fresh and spoiled tomatoes. This study was conducted in 2020 between the months of July and September. Tomato is the edible fruit of the tomato plant which contains high level of phytochemical and other essential nutrients. Research has shown that tomatoes produced in Ghana is less than the domestic demand, yet a high percentage of about 37.5 is lost to post-harvest loss. This therefore indicates that there are tons of tomatoes that go waste every year. But then the big question remains that what actually happens to the spoiled tomatoes? A research has indicated that there is the rise in the consumption of spoiled tomatoes in Ghana because they are cheaper on the market as compared to the fresh tomatoes. Although such tomatoes are consumed, do they really confer any health benefits to their consumers? This study sought to compare the nutritional and phytochemical composition of fresh and spoiled tomatoes, and for the aim to be achieved, the phytochemical and nutritional composition of fresh and induced spoiled tomatoes were determined and compared. We also determined the nutritional and phytochemical composition of spoiled tomatoes sampled from the open market. Laboratory analysis using standard protocols were used to determine nutritional and phytochemicals in fresh and spoiled tomatoes. Nutrients that were considered for the study were crude fiber, vitamin C, folate, and potassium. Phytochemicals analyzed included lycopene, beta-carotene, and chlorogenic acid. Findings of the study show that the level of moisture in the spoiled tomatoes, being it induced or randomly sampled from the market, was low compared to what was found in the fresh tomatoes. And for the sample coding, F indicates fresh tomatoes, IS for induced spoiled tomatoes, and S1 to S6 represent the randomly sampled spoiled tomatoes. Results showed a significant difference in the moisture content of the tomato samples. Spoiled tomatoes had low moisture content compared to the fresh tomatoes due to the high exposure, rupturing, and excessive water loss. Spoiled tomatoes contain higher fiber than fresh tomatoes due to moisture loss. But then tomato fiber is expected to be high even at spoilage since they are non-degradable. And the levels of crude fiber recorded in this study agrees with other findings in literature. Fresh tomatoes was rich in vitamin C compared to the spoiled state because vitamin C is sensitive to heat and light, and during spoilage, heat generated causes the vitamin to degrade, and this could have accounted for its reduction in the spoiled tomatoes. And then there were high level of potassium recorded in the spoiled tomatoes. Folate levels differ widely between food sources, with highest levels found mostly in green leafy plants, in legumes, and fruits such as banana. But then generally, tomato has low folate content. However, higher levels were recorded in spoiled tomatoes due to the release of folate bioenzymes at late ripening. And then there was a statistically significant difference in the folate content of the tomato samples. Chlorogenic acid content in spoiled tomatoes was higher compared to the fresh samples because chlorogenic acid degrades very fast at spoilage. Carotenoid content in spoiled tomato was higher than in the fresh tomato as a result of the advancement in ripening, which increases carotenoid synthesis. And then the results showed no significant difference in the carotenoid content of the tomato samples. And in conclusion, this study has shown that although no significant difference was found in all the nutritional and phytochemical components of the spoiled and fresh tomatoes, consumption of spoiled tomatoes should be discouraged since it could be unsafe for use. And then again, it implies that value should be added to tomatoes to one, increase shelf life, and also to render it more safe for consumption since they contain high amounts of nutrients and phytochemicals. I'll therefore say thank you and use this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude to the consortium for supporting this research. And also, I'll say a big thank you for your audience. May God bless you. These are tomato samples purchased from the open market. Plate 1 is the fresh Roma tomatoes, which was actually the tomato variety that was used for the research. And then plate 2 is the induced spoiled tomatoes. Plate 3 is the market spoiled tomatoes, which is the samples that were randomly purchased from the market. And then plate 4 is also another picture of a market spoiled tomatoes. All these tomatoes are actually being consumed here in Ghana. So it's evident that there's really a big problem. And then these are some references that were used for the work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for that. And when we have one additional presentation, then we'll have a question session after that. So just, there we go. From George Owusu. George, we'll have your presentation here in just a second, okay?
Hi, my name is George Owusu, and today I'll be presenting on comparative assessment of three low-capacity drying systems using analytical hierarchy process. Smallholder farmers are being challenged mostly when it comes to drying of their maize produce. Improper drying of maize by smallholder farmers promotes insect infestation and mold growth during storage. This in turn results in financial losses to the farmer and also poses health threats to the consumer. The application of dryers to dry grains properly before storage is very important in preventing these post-harvest losses. Currently, research and development has led to innovative ways of drying, with alternative drying solutions being provided. Therefore, there is a need to assess these alternative drying systems to know which of them is most suitable for adoption by smallholder farmers in Ghana. Our research aims to assess three low-capacity drying systems and select the best alternative for smallholder farmers for scale-up and commercialization. Specifically, we will be assessing the technical performance of three low-capacity drying systems based on their drying efficiencies and drying rates, and using the AHP, compare and select the most suitable drying system for adoption. Finally, the selected drying system will be assessed economically to determine its economic viability using the net present value, the internal rate of return, and payback period. From the figures 2, 3, and 4, we have our Aflastop dryer M500, the KNUST STR column dryer, and the solar dryer. These three low-capacity drying systems were considered for the study and are all available at the Department of Agricultural and Biosystems Engineering at KNUST Kumasi, Ghana. From the objectives of the study, the technical performance of the three alternative dryers were assessed using the equations 1 and 2 for drying efficiency and drying rate. Again, the AHP was applied to compare and select the most suitable alternative drying system for adoption. And finally, the economic viability of the selected system was assessed using the equations 3, 4, 5, and 6 for the net present value, internal rate of return, and payback period. Table 1 shows a summary of the technical performance of the alternative drying systems. Using maize at weight 250 kilos and initial moisture content of 18.2, the Aflastop dryer used 2 hours to attain a final moisture content of 13.8. The STR column dryer used 3 hours to attain its final moisture content of 12.5, and the solar bubble dryer used 5 hours to attain its final moisture content of 13.3. The values for the drying rate and efficiencies for all three alternative drying systems were 2.20 and 81.07% for the Aflastop dryer, 1.90 and 64.65% for the STR column dryer, and 0.98 and 36.17% for the solar bubble dryer. The AHP was then applied to obtain the performance matrix of the alternative drying systems with respect to our decision criteria, drying rate, drying efficiency, durability, ease of use, versatility, cost of purchase, and operational costs, where alternatives 1, 2, and 3 represented the Aflastop dryer, the STR column dryer, and the solar bubble dryer respectively. Under drying rate and efficiency, the alternative 1 was the best performing dryer, with alternative 2 following and alternative 3 being the least performing dryer. Under durability and ease of use, alternative 2 was the best performing dryer, followed by alternative 1 and finally the alternative 3. Under versatility, alternative 3 was the best performing dryer, followed by alternative 2 and finally the alternative 1. Under cost of purchase, alternative 2 was the best performing dryer, followed by alternative 1 and then the alternative 3. And finally, under operational cost, alternative 3 was the best performing dryer, followed by alternative 2 and then alternative 1. The priority value was then determined using our performance matrix and criteria weights. From figure 5, we can observe that the STR column dryer had a priority value of 41%, whilst the Aflastop dryer had a priority value of 34%, and the solar bubble dryer having its performance value at 25%. This indicates that the STR column dryer is the most suitable system for adoption by smallholder farmers in Ghana. The selected STR column dryer is then appraised over an operational period of 10 years. And from our economic appraisal, we obtained a positive net present value of 8,094 Ghana cedis, which is approximately $1,413. with an internal rate of return of 67% and a payback period of 1.5 years. A sensitivity analysis was then performed on the selected STR column dryer to determine its resistance to variations in price and discount rates. The drying charge and discount rate used for our financial analysis was 5 Ghana cedis and 14% respectively. From table 3, we can observe that with variations in drying charges, our MPV still yielded the positive values, with our internal rate of returns still being greater than the current discount rate, which is 14%. The payback period also were 1.99 years for drying charge of 4 Ghana cedis, 1.18 years for drying charge of 6 Ghana cedis, and 0.98 years for drying charge of 7 Ghana cedis. From the table 4, our variations in discount rate didn't affect our internal rate of return or our payback period, but an increase in discount rate decreased our net present value, and a decrease in discount rate increased our net present value significantly. With a positive MPV being experienced under all variations and an internal rate of return for all variations being greater than the current discount rate of 14%, our system was considered robust and resistant to shocks from variations in prices and discount rates. Even though the STR column dryer was selected as the most suitable for adoption, all 3 alternative drying systems had favorable drying rates compared to the open sun drying method and could be adopted by smallholder farmers in Ghana. The adoption and commercialization of these drying systems would help promote food security through reduction of post-harvest losses, mainly encountered during drying. Also, the economic viability analysis performed on the STR column dryer would help give confidence to farmers and investors for its adoption and scale up. Thank you. The project team are grateful for support from the consortium in undertaking this research.
Thank you, George, Joshua, and Loretta. We now have a question and answer session for about 10 minutes here, and then we'll wrap up. I'll just get started with George because yours was the last one, and with your kind of economic study, it looks pretty valuable to farmers. Are you seeing adoption in the field? And if not, what might be the issues there?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, it's very possible to be adopted in the field, but the issue here is education. Most farmers don't really plan, and they don't, especially the smallholder farmers, they don't keep records of these things. And as a result, they do the farming as a source of livelihood, but they don't really consider the farming as a business. So when it comes to their record keeping and these investments to make more returns for money, they usually are on the blind side of issues there. So when they are being trained on these issues and they know the potential returns they'll be making, I'm very certain that they will engage in it and adopt the practice. Thank you very much for your question.
Thanks, George. I saw there was a kind of a lively chat about the public's kind of public consumption of spoiled tomatoes and kind of the And so I just wanted to turn to both Loretta and Joshua and say, are kind of people worried about E. coli in consumption of tomatoes, at least in the commercial sense. But both of you could speak to that maybe. Loretta, Joshua, are you here?
Hello.
Go ahead, Loretta.
Please come again.
Sorry, if you could just speak to kind of the public's concern about consumption of spoiled tomatoes and the E. coli threat.
Okay, actually, most of the consumers are indifferent about the state of the tomatoes. They only concentrate on the quantity instead of quality. And then most people too are unaware of the health effects of consuming spoiled tomatoes. So I think some of them actually are not aware of the health dangers.
Are there kind of cases, or I don't know if this is probably outside of the scope, but are there cases or documented cases of E. coli outbreaks because of this practice, or go ahead.
Okay, actually my work didn't cover that, but then from literature, spoiled tomatoes contain high potent mycotoxins, which actually cause health effects or have negative health implications. They cause jaundice and other serious health problems. But then my work then look at that.
Okay, I got you. So aflatoxin is an issue in there as well. Okay, great.
Yeah, E. coli is not really a spoilage bacteria, so it's a different type.
Okay, great.
It's infecting.
We have a question from Alex talking about the solar bubble dryer, and basically the technical aspects of it. Was the soil bubble dryer used with a dryer bed, or was grain placed on the drying floor? So I think that's for George. Don't know if George is here, but
George Awuso.
George Awuso.
Maybe didn't hear me, George. How was the if you could speak to how the solar bubble dryer, was the grain placed on a drying bed or on a drying floor?
Let me maybe respond if George is unable to connect. The solar bubble dryer, the way it is set up, it contains the grain or product inside of the solar bubble, right? It's basically, there is a fan or a set of fans blowing air from the outside across and through this tube area, which is the bubble, at the length that was shown in one of the pictures on the slides, and the layer of grain in this case is laying on the black floor of that solar bubble dryer, and part of the heat is generated as a result of the solar radiation through the transparent top layer bubble of the solar dryer, which is essentially inflated as a result of those fans moving grain over. There's also typically the recommendation that that layer, which might be a few centimeters thick, gets agitated every so often, and that can be done from underneath with kind of a rolling device, at least get some movement going so that you don't have to try to stick into the solar bubble dryer to disturb the layer, just so that it gets broken up a little bit, and some of the wetter kernels that may be at the bottom might come to the upper surface layer, and as a result of this mixing that might take place once every 24 hours or something like that, you would achieve a more effective drying or uniform drying process. That's typically how the solar bubble dryer work. They're self-contained, so to speak. They may need a photovoltaic panel to operate the fans, or they could be connected to a grid power, or they could be connected to a little gasoline engine that keeps the fans going, but it does need fans to inflate and dry.
Thank you for that, Dr. Meyer. I think we might be here at the end of the question session here. We want to thank everyone for those questions, and we'll wrap this up with some comments from Dr. Meyer, maybe some other people, but go ahead, Dr. Meyer. So
yeah, first of all, thank you everybody for participating. We've had quite a number of attendees throughout the day and through this period of time. I want to thank, in particular, also congratulate our students that have presented their research. All of you've done an excellent job in terms of your oral presentations, as well as of your posters. Yes, absolutely. Congratulations and thank you. It's wonderful to see the progress of the work. It's been wonderful to see multiple institutions, represented, from our friends at Zalke in Brazil to our friends in Nairobi, in Kenya, University of Nairobi, Stellenbosch University, South Africa, a very large contingent of our friends from KNUST, which was great, and we thank the professors there in particular. I know that Joseph Akawa has been with us as part of the attendees and has also interacted on the chat and has encouraged many of the students from KNUST to actively participate together with his other colleagues. So thank you. And Epiphany from Rwanda, of course, as well. So we've had a real great distribution of participation. And as I said at the beginning, this is a wonderful reflection of the research that has continued despite COVID over the past year that has created many limitations for all of us. But it also has created more creativity in terms of collaboration with one another and communication with one another to keep projects moving forward. I'm very delighted on how well everything has worked. Yes, we've had a few little technical glitches, but we always learn from that. The recordings will be posted soon. The posters will be accessible. We've advised every one of the participants not to put any confidential materials onto the posters, and so that's why we feel comfortable posting everything. And none of what you're sharing here, which is a scientific meeting, will prevent you from publishing this in peer journal manuscripts. That's just a normal process. And so that's exciting. It was also very nice to see some of the creativity. We have had at least a couple of posters that included QR codes, right? That you can literally click on and get to additional information, either past the presentations or in the case of what Jorge has done, a dashboard that presents data that he has been cleaning up and researching from the YieldWise initiative, and there will be more to come on that. And so we're very excited about using all of these techniques and technologies to get access to information, access to research data, access to distributing and sharing that. And Thank you to Kyle and to Nicholas for facilitating, making this all happen on the technology platform, both with a Zoom call as well as the YouTube. I've kind of gone back between looking at the YouTube stream as well, and all that seems to have come through very well. Unless Jan or Joost, do you wanted to make any comments on anything?
Yes, I would like to thank all the presenters also. I was very impressed about also the broadness of the subjects, and especially the later presentations about the consumption of spoiled tomatoes really hit me. I'm it also motivates us to further do our best to prevent that products come into that stage, and that more of a higher quality will be available for the market. And so I'm very impressed about the broad extent of the subjects that were presented, also about the high scientific quality, because I saw a lot of very thorough analysis. And I look forward to see the presentations also in more detail. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. How about Joost?
I think I only can echo what Dr. Maya and also my colleague Jan Bruce just said and repeated more or less. So I was impressed. And also, well, COVID also gives us all the opportunity to sit together. Of course, it's behind a laptop and in my case, in a 30-inch screen, but otherwise it probably wouldn't happen because you have to travel a lot. So that's also a good thing, I think. Nevertheless, I also hope, and I saw something about special Guyanese food or something, so to meet in person and to to work towards to see each other in real life. So, but for this, yeah, very nice, and also looking forward to the presentations and do a little bit of deep dive and then come back to you all, because there is some afterburning, a positive way, as I understood. So maybe Kyle or Dr. Mike can elaborate on that.
Well, thank you for that. Also, I want to say thanks to our colleague, Dr. Steven Zonka, who has been very active in putting questions into the chat and keeping the Q&A session going. Dr. Zonka serves, of course, as the Associate Director for the consortium. And yes, you know, of course, we want to stimulate communication among participants. And so, of course, everybody is free and encouraged to follow up with one another about activities, and we will sometime next week announce the winners of the presentations and poster as well. So with that, I don't think I've got anything else to comment on, and so Kyle, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, I don't know. I just saw Joseph Akawua, and I don't know if Joseph might want to say something at the end here. Just sure.
Well, indeed.
Yeah, because you kind of helped foster a great contingent from KNUST, so we really want to recognize you, Joseph, and I sprung this on you, so I apologize.
That is fine, Carl. Of course, I mean, I've been behind the scene trying to monitor how things are going. And I must also say a big thank you to all the participants. Indeed, in terms of their presentations, it's cut across, you know, different spectrum of different crops from different areas, and they've, you know, presented it in such a way that we've sort of get just in terms of what they are doing, in terms of progress of their work, those who have completed. So I am very much happy that indeed we've given them such an opportunity or a platform to also, in a way, to showcase what they are able to do and to speak to themselves, like I think Prof. Maya indicated. I think this is an opportunity for, you know, our students to also, you know, build confidence and also progress as far as their academic careers are concerned. I mean, presenting at conferences or such programs also is one of the opportunities for them to demonstrate that they can really, you know, be by themselves and, you know, show to others what they are able to do. So I'm very much happy that such opportunity was created for them, and I congratulate all of them being able to show and demonstrate that indeed they've been able to do a lot of work and then made it known to others from different areas as far as this consortium is concerned. So I am very much happy, and we continue to work with them to guide them to be able to come out with the best of, you know, knowledge that they could gain from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph, and I think this, one of the on my end, one of the goals of the consortium is to really lift up and strengthen the next generation of researchers, and I'm quite heartened by this demonstration of research power, so to speak. So and just the progress you've made is quite amazing. I think that ends the program, and we're only 3 minutes over, which is wow. We did a good job. So we will see you all later. I want to congratulate the students. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will.
Good job, everybody. Thank you very much for all your efforts.
We'll see you very soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I see you all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you and bye.
Goodbye.